you've been with the Spits for a long time. But before we actually jump to that, I have two questions that I'm not even sure if we're going to skip over this or not. I mean, I do all my research on the internet, and I like to learn right from the horse's mouth. Now, we have 2 years here of you playing in Australia and Germany. Is that you, or is that a different
That's
Jerrod
me,
Smith
man.
that just
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
I'm
let's
glad,
talk
yeah,
about that because like I
I'm
couldn't
glad you
find
brought that up.
yeah, I couldn't find much on it. I mean, I was like, I gotta listen to you did the Hat Trick Hockey podcast, and I was shocked that
Yeah.
they didn't bring it up. So I mean, let's get in. I wasn't sure if it was like a mistake on the website or something, So it
No,
looks
I'm
like there's
sure.
like a year in between, and then you go there, but that's probably when you were playing at Acadia, right?
Yeah. So you've heard of the Australian Pro League before? I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, just from
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of guys from
So
around here have been out there. So
yeah. So I had a buddy who played in the league, and obviously their winter time is our summertime, right? The season's kind of flipped
yeah,
for them. So it was all on my own. I ended up emailing. So this was in between my third and fourth year, if I recall correctly, of university. You know, I wanted to continue playing, and I thought I was actually developing even more. I actually made the switch. I started playing defense. I
okay,
started playing defense in Nova Scotia, and I was like, damn, like probably should have been a defense my whole life, kind of thing. I got that feeling, and I just loved playing the position, and I wanted to continue playing if I could, right? So I started reaching out to teams in the Australian Pro League because I knew, I had a buddy who went over there and had a great experience, and I knew that, I was able to do this. I was able, if I were to hook onto a team, I could go after I wrote my last exam. I could play there and come back and start my fourth year university, right? So I remember sending an email to probably every team over there, and the West Sydney Ice Dogs they were obviously the ones corresponding the most with me, and ended up offering me a spot without obviously seeing me play, just my very average junior resume really. Offered me a spot, paid for my flight, paid for my accommodations and car. So after my last exam, I remember going home, and I flew out of Toronto like two days later. Obviously without knowing anybody, I got picked up at the airport. Got taken. Here's me thinking I'm like gonna play on a beach and like, go to practice and surf and like lie on the beach and enjoy that kind of life. I was pretty wrong about that. Like I was in a suburb of Sydney, and like believe me, like it was awesome, but like it's not what I really thought I was getting into. It was a suburb of Sydney, like pretty rough area to be honest. I lived with two American guys, great guys. One guy was from Utah, one guy was from Minnesota. So I think you're allowed 5 imports. So we were 3 of the 5. So long story short, in like I think I played four games. I blew my shoulder out. Like I remember, I've never been hit so hard in my life. I remember hooking the net as a D-man. I made a pass. I popped my head up, and this guy was just like, I didn't see him, and he smoked me, and he got all my shoulder. And like I just remember like spinning in the air and like landing on the ice. And like I've never obviously been hurt like that before.
mm-hmm.
And so my shoulders are out. Like my shoulders right out. And I can remember being in the trainer's room. They're trying to like pop my shoulder in. I'm like, guys, like this isn't working, right? So we go to the hospital, and I didn't have my travel insurance on me at the time. And I remember some of the Aussie boys were like, "Oh, don't worry, like we'll just get you in under like one of our names." I'm like, what? Like you guys like, are you guys serious? And sure enough, like they tried to get me into the hospital under like a false ID. And I was like, guys, I had the nurse administrator, whoever she was at the hospital, starting to ask me questions. Like, I don't have an Australian act. Like I speak like so right away I'm like, hey, hang on. Like this is not gonna work, guys. So she kind of laughed it off, and like I told her, like, listen, I do have my travel insurance, it's not on me. This is what happened. So I saw a doctor right away. Told me it was like separate, like a 3rd-degree separation. You're going to be out, maybe a month. I was like, oh, okay, like no big deal. Like I'll rehab it. Their team was obviously going to help me out with the rehab. I was like, no big deal. Like, you had to play a certain number of games to play in the playoffs. So you had to, I think it was like a 28 game season. You had to play at least like 14 games, like half the schedule. So I was like, okay, well, I was trying to map it out. Like, I think I can get that in, right? If I'm only going to be out a month. Turns out, like, honestly, man, it got worse. Like my shoulder, like I could barely lift like a soup can, like after like 3 weeks over my like my shoulder. And I was like, this isn't right. Like there's more to it, like this injury. Basically I didn't get, great medical attention, more or less. And I remember it got to the point where I wasn't going to be able to play that number of games to get in the playoffs. But I was like, I'm not flying home. I'm going to soak this in and enjoy my experience here, being around the guys and enjoying obviously new surroundings and living abroad. So I stayed until like close to the playoffs, and I went home. And when I got home, I saw a surgeon in Hamilton right away. And he's like, yeah, like this should have been operated on like right away. And I never got the surgery because he's like, at this point, after like 2.5, 3 months, it's begun to heal on its own. And I don't want to do the surgery. And I was like, yeah, all good. And to be honest, it's given me no issues like ever since. Like it's fine. But so yeah, I got hurt basically is what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you always hear the crazy Russian stories, but not too many of the crazy Australia stories, man.
Yeah, honestly, it was kind of outrageous that whole night, but pretty funny to look back on it.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, at least you got some story out of it. And
yeah, for sure.
I mean, it looks like so you were like kind of naturally able to recover because I mean, you eventually went back to Germany, right?
Yeah. So and then I graduated, and again, I had a buddy who played. I want to say they call it the fourth league. Like it's obviously not a great league. Like I was going over there again for the experience and the fact that they were going to pay for my accommodations and give us a car and whatnot, and you make a little bit of money, but it's just spending money, right? More or less. So that was another really interesting experience. We were in a town, Adendorf, which is north of Hamburg. Like not a lick of English there, really, like very, very German. So that was difficult, trying to just get by day to day, with the language barrier. And I was there for like 2 or 3 weeks by myself before the other Canadian guy came over. And he spoke some German, so that kind of helped when he got there. But as you know, like over there with those leagues, like it's like soccer, right? Like if you don't finish in the top 3 or top 2 of the league, you don't get the promotion to the league above. And it's another hilarious story.
Yeah.
We play. We basically I was there till Christmas. So at Christmas time, like we were middle of the pack to like basically we weren't going to be promoted to the next league. And I remember we got like literally a freaking piece of paper slipped under our door, like our apartment, like basically telling us like we're not paying you guys anymore. Like that's enough. Like this is not what we thought we were getting ourselves into. Like bye kind of thing. And so we were like, what the hell am I gonna like? I was like, what the hell am I gonna do now, right? Like, so they basically the team folded more or less. And I stayed for another week or so, and then I ended up because it was around Christmas time. I was like, okay, I might as well go home for Christmas at this point, right? So yeah, that was that was another interesting hockey experience abroad for sure.
Well, we need a documentary on that team now.
Oh man, yeah.